Welcome along to Match Day Live here on Fox's Hub with me, Dan Bates, Jerry Taggart and Matty Fryatt. Following a bitterly disappointing Friday evening on the South Coast. It's finished Plymouth 1, Leicester 0. Jerry, sorry, I'm coming to you first. How do you sum that up?
It's hard to describe, isn't it, at the minute? The last two games, particularly tonight, after the two home games that we've just seen. Really is. I think they look tired, they look out of sorts. Even though they bossed the game and they created half chances, but they didn't look, well, obviously they weren't clinical in front of goal. But in all honesty, Dan, even when they did get through and goal, I was never convinced that they were going to score. And it clearly shows that, you know, there's something wrong within the camp that it's had to come to this. Obviously, I don't know what's wrong, but
it's strange though, isn't it? With the pressure, the anxiety, you think you turn it around. The other week when you go goal behind against Norwich, team in form, you turn it, and then it went the other way. And you'd think Norwich would have kicked on, they didn't. And you back it up with the Birmingham result, and then two poor away performances.
Yeah.
Tonight, I saw a lot of fight in the Millwall game in terms of what Millwall produced. Tonight, I thought it was a little bit more. Plymouth can't believe the luck. They're celebrating now, it's fair play to them, but seem to lack that, like you say, even with the chances, that conviction, a little bit frozen, a little bit unsure. As much as there was sort of had the possession, never really looked likely.
Yeah.
And the goals, all three away from home with the 1-0 defeat, they've all been similar. Sort of backing off, and tonight was probably the easiest out of the bunch. But sort of on that counter, and then they score, and then it's difficult to change it.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, there's obviously something not quite right within the camp. I don't know what it is, but I mean, they've got 4 games left to put it right. And they need to realise that, you know, it's the performances in the last 2 games are substandard. And you can talk about the chances created and goals conceded and all the rest of it. This is the crunch time of the season. This is when it really, really matters. And Leicester have done unbelievably well to get themselves into this position where it's in their own hands. But for whatever reason, you know, they just can't seem to, you know, stretch it out and get themselves closer to the line at the minute. And all you can do is comment on what you see on the TV or here at King Power Stadium. And at the minute, the 2 home games compared to the 2 away games are just chalk and cheese.
Matt Elliott is down at Home Park. He's been on co-commentary duty for us. Matt, can you sum up what the mood is like down there amongst the Leicester contingent?
Well, initially, yeah, straight away, it's an air of despondency, I have to say, really, which is not nice to speak about, really, because you can. Ironically, Leicester are still technically in pole position, aren't they? Even weird as that sounds, they're top of the league with equal games played at this moment in time. But it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way on the back of the run that has been going on for far too long. To be fair, those 2 home games aside, as Jerry mentioned. But this is the first time that visibly you've seen the players sort of recognising their shortcomings a little bit, or certainly their disappointment in how things have gone. You know, Vestergaard, Hamza Chowdhury came running on the pitch, he picked up Mavididi off the floor, Vestergaard on his haunches. 1 or 2 other players were sort of heads down, and yeah, which is understandable and just, because disappointed to play to come here and not pick up a point against Plymouth, as game and as absolutely determined as they were, with the magnificent support. I can't mention that enough. That the support has been huge contribution to their performance tonight. I don't know whether that relayed itself on the screens or on the audio, but it was highly impressive, and they really spurred the team on. But Leicester have got to face that sort of challenge and come up against that, and they faced it before and overcome it quite comfortably, and it's just not happening for them, is it? There's no sort of spark about their game really, and crucial moments there was either sort of a lack of ruthlessness or a lack of efficiency, or there was a bit of hesitancy, or if it wasn't one thing it was another. Just looking at the stats, and what was it, 13-0 in terms of corners, 70-30 possession. What was it, 2-3 times as many shots, but almost the same amount on target. They chose their moments, Plymouth. They knew how their game was going to go, but Leicester was sort of stumbling into games, aren't they? And don't really have a sort of forthrightness about them at the moment. But they really need to dust themselves down, don't they, and recapture something. It is there, because we've seen it to a degree in the 2 home games. I didn't think they were back to their best, but they're good performances, very good results. 3 out of 4 at home is a massive consolation stroke, confidence booster, isn't it? Albeit against decent teams, certainly West Brom and Southampton will be difficult games. But yeah, at the moment you can't help but be disappointed. I mean, I think some of the supporters are bordering on distraught. But when all is said and done, the dust settles, Leicester are still in with a great shout, because they just did, to me, I don't know, the best way of summing it up, I think, is they didn't do too much wrong, but they certainly didn't do anywhere near enough right tonight.
Yeah, but when you listen to Matt's stats, are 70-30 shots, corners, a well-oiled Enzo Maresca team, with those kind of stats, that's exactly what he's looking for. And a well-oiled Leicester City team go out and win that game 2 or 3 tonight with those type of stats. Or let's say stats that we've seen in the past, you're expecting at least 2 or 3 goals in there. Leicester obviously have come away with no goals with those types of stats. So you have to read in between those and say, what is wrong? What is the issue? Why have they not scored tonight? Why have they not won this game? Why have they conceded another goal that could have been avoided? And these are the types of questions you need to be asking to pick the game apart, because they're good stats to the eye, and everybody loves a stat, don't they? About this, that, and the other. Main one obviously being possession, shots, and the corner count as well. But at the end of it, it's a 1-0 defeat to another team who are struggling at the bottom of the league. I'm not just saying it wasn't a totally different game to Tuesday night, but it was a game where when it started you thought, they must realise they've got a great chance of getting something out of this. And somehow they've come away a game with nothing.
Mm. And those fans, Matty, that travelled so long down to the South Coast, they'll be so disappointed with what they've seen as well.
Yeah, really disappointed. Again, it was a massive opportunity to put a marker down and sort of kick on, and it didn't materialise, did it, unfortunately? Maybe do you go 2 up top, change things? It wasn't obviously Patson Daka's evening. When you're chasing a game, do you just caution to the wind? Even something, I know it's a centre-back going up there and see if you can get knockdowns and maybe force the game. But as Jerry said, the stats there, but it didn't feel quite like how the stats are portrayed. I know there's the 70% possession, the attempts at goal, but it just seemed as if it's that confidence, and it seems to have eluded the team more so away from home. flip it on the positive. Leicester it's still in their hands, and they've got 3 games to come at home, so can't get too down about it. But again, for the supporters travelling, the team going down there, and against a team that was short confidence themselves, it's a tough one to take. But as Matt said, you dust yourself down, and again, even bigger game next week against West Brom, and you're now looking, fingers crossed, tomorrow that the 2 other teams slip up and don't take advantage of what's an opening for them.
Yeah, well, obviously we're going to have to wait to see what the results are tomorrow. But I've always said it's immaterial what the other 2 teams do. You take care of business yourself. That hasn't happened, but they're still in top spot until 4:45 or 10:05, whatever the times are tomorrow, the games are at. And then what it does do, no matter what, is make the next 2 home games against West Brom and Southampton. You're talking about these 2 games being big games. They become absolutely ginormous, those 2 games. 2 games at home against 2 teams. Obviously, one still trying to chase an outside chance of promotion, one chasing a playoff spot. So there's no getting away from it. The noose is tightening, no matter what way you look at it. And it's only themselves can can make sure that they climb out the other side of this.
Yeah, it's already. I mean, every game, Matt, we were saying pre-Millwall, pre-tonight, was every game's massive between now and the end of the season. Even more so now. That game against West Brom in what, just over a week, it's the early kickoff, isn't it, next Saturday? That's humongous now for this club, regardless really of what happens with the Leeds and Ipswich games at this weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing how things have panned out, isn't it? With Leicester being so clear, which we're all aware of, and at one stage of the season, and it's slowly been ebbed away, that lead. But to be where they are with the run that they've had, and it seems to have been tight for quite a while now, and Leicester's form has continued for the majority to be poor by those 2 games, yet they still sit technically in pole position. Yeah, seems strange how it can sort of occur that way, but obviously the other teams have dropped points, and sometimes we can sort of, or people who associate with Leicester, whether it be supporters or whatever, or the press, journalists, a little bit harsher on Leicester maybe than the other 2 teams when they drop points because of the lead they had, I suppose, and sort of natural enough. But it seems like they're letting opportunities slip through their hands far too regularly. But yet, if they take care of business, as Jerry calls it, and rightly so, then they go up. They go up as champions. If they were to do the business in the last 4 games, which they're capable of, by the way. But it's just, I don't know, that cutting edge, just that real spark about the play. It has, without doubt, that loss of confidence, whichever way you want to term it. It has occurred. It has occurred, and you can see it in their play. They're not as assured as they should be. But having said that, I could quite conceivably see them, winning the next game against West Brom, albeit a decent team, at the King Power, and then all of a sudden. But what it does do tonight, losing tonight, compounds the fact they're losing on Tuesday. But even tonight, if there'd been a positive result tonight. By positive, I mean 3 points, not the 1 point. But that would have allowed for, even at this late stage, a little bit of margin for error, for something to go awry a little bit. But now, you've got to think, it probably won't be the case, but you've got to think, right, the other teams only got 3 games left. They've got a chance. They've got 4 now, haven't they? So, as it stands, they've got a chance of winning all of those. So Leicester have to be exemplary, absolutely exemplary from now to the end of the season. But you do worry whether that's going to occur or not, because they've been far from exemplary over the last month or 6 weeks, haven't they?
Well, on current form, i.e. the last 4 games, 2 home, 2 away. Leicester win
home.
3 and get, so they get 9 points out of the next 4 games if you're going on current form.
It's vitally important that the supporters are there next week, isn't it, Matty? Supporting the team here at King Power Stadium, exactly like they did against Norwich, off the back of that tough defeat at Bristol City, exactly like they were against Birmingham. King Power Stadium was brilliant on both of those occasions. If it's like that again, and Leicester will get the result.
Yeah, I think so. Saw completely different. That Norwich game, they're the team in form, leading the league at the time in the form table, and then turned it around from going a goal behind, and then the Birmingham result. So the fans will be there, of course. They will be there, and I think it will suit, because it might flip depending what goes on tomorrow and the scores. But again, it's still in Leicester's hands. Regardless if the table ended now, Leicester would be up. It just, that psychological blow or that feeling, they looked a little, as Matt said, a bit of visibility of the players. But go and produce at home, and on current form, you probably wouldn't say the away game at Preston, but you never know, they could go and win them. It's crazy, but you'd, at home in particular, you'd still fancy Leicester, and with the backing of the home supporters, that they can go and get the job done.
Obviously, I'm talking hypotheticals there by using that.
But you can understand it with
I'll tell you the most disappointing. They didn't. Leicester are top of the league and still have a chance to become champions. In the last 2 games, they haven't played like champions. That's the worrying bit for me. Now, that's not to say that will not turn round by the time next week comes and they're back here at home against West Brom. But I just think that in the last 2 games, they haven't performed like champions elect, or whatever you want to call it.
Hopefully they do in just over a week's time. Of course, that game with West Brom that we've just been talking about is a 12:30 kickoff a week tomorrow. That means we'll be live in the morning from 11:30 on Fox's Hub with Matchday Live. Before that, if you can handle it, we've got more reaction to tonight's game against Plymouth on Extra Time. We'll be live on Facebook, YouTube and Fox's Hub, of course, from 6 p.m. So do join us for that. As ever, there's a latest podcast available for you. Leicester's the Place. Jerry Taggart and Matt Elliott in conversation with Muzzy Is It. Big thanks to Matt for travelling down to Plymouth this afternoon and evening. Safe travels back, Matt. Safe travels back, of course, to all of those Leicester fans, actually, that travelled all the way down to Plymouth tonight. Your support doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you to Matty Fryatt and to Jerry Taggart for their company here in the studio. For those of you joining us for Extra Time on Monday, we'll see you then. If not, a huge game a week tomorrow here at King Power Stadium, West Brom at home. Thanks for watching. Good night.